we're going to begin with a Fox weather alert as we track out those storms. That volatility that we saw over the weekend persists into early this week. Welcome inside. I'm Steve Bender, and we got another week of very active weather for the end of April, and we're talking 3 days in a row of severe storms, and it could look just like this. What you see behind me is an absolute beast of a wedge tornado. Wedge tornado means it's wider than it is tall. And you can tell that from here because you can't even see the surface. It's almost completely blocked out by that violent storm. That was last night. We'll get you updated on all of that. Let's talk about what tonight's threat is like. We got our teams out in the thick of it already. Corey and Brandon there in northern Iowa. Notice this is that broad view of the Midwest. This was the level 4 out of 5 threat. All of the warnings coming in. How many warnings? Good question. 14 severe thunderstorm warnings, 5 tornado warnings, 1 flash flood warning. This got active real quick. 7,400 lightning strikes. That speaks to the instability in the atmosphere right now. As we start to push into the evening time, this is a long duration event. So let's get you caught up on everything that's happened today, what's happening right now, and what you can expect in the days ahead. I already highlighted the crews that are out in the field. This is Cody and Sam. You're going to hear me talk about them. You're going to hear me potentially have a conversation at times when these storms get their act together, and we'll have more on what we are seeing here at headquarters and, of course, bring you to those active spots outside like Chapman, Kansas. Notice the camera itself wobbling around. Pretty decent amount of rain bursting through, and we also have Mark Sudduth. He's got his vehicle. It's all tricked out trying to study hail. Fascinating. He is going to join us here in a couple of minutes. We got a lot to get to. Let's waste no time. Let's get into some of those warnings right now. Notice those tornado warnings all in a line right now. And so we do have northern Iowa. That's right where Brendan and Corey are at. And then we have a couple that are bunched up towards the top. Let's get to the ones at the top real quickly because those are the ones that have just left the I-35 corridor. And before, when we were watching this and I was looking at it, the rotationary element was actually pretty significant. And look at that, out towards Kenyon, this is that zone that you want to look at. You see those brighter colors that just jump off the screen? Well, that means you have a stronger rotation. That's 86 mile per hour differential. You only need 65 in order to get this down to the ground and to be active. So looking at these storms, Sam or Cody, do you guys know the storm movement right now, how fast these are moving? They're going to work on that as we look at the potential intensity of these storms. Another way of looking at the rotation, 55. All right, thank you, Cody. So let's get back into that, and we're going to draw this out with that cone. So we know, hey, this is the strongest area of vorticity. There it is. Leon, 615. Goodhue, 625. Featherstone, 630. If you live up here, you probably don't have a storm shelter. You got a basement. That is your best spot to go to tonight, whether it's now or in the hours ahead, because you want to get to the lowest level of your home. This is outside of Minneapolis, but these storms have been popping up along that I-35 corridor. So real quickly, before we move on, you see this up here towards that 495 corridor. Just how far to the south is this? I'm going to bring out the measuring tool, about 40 miles to the south. I only bring that up because when you talk about people living in this area, those suburbs, oftentimes people will drive 30 minutes, an hour outside the city, and that increases that population density. This is a spot that was fairly active before. As we brought it back out, notice it's a one line, and there's no notches embedded in that. So it's turned into more of a damaging wind event, 60 mile per hour winds as it moves through southern Minnesota. Let's get into this tornado warning. And again, this is where we have our storm trackers bring up their location. Brandon is right to the south of it. Corey's right to the north of it. That's what you want out of a team. They're seeing both sides of this storm as it gets organized. Now, in this area, it has been a dead zone. It's been very difficult to distinguish anything that's been happening. So as we zoom in, we will look to see what type of differential this is at. We got 48 miles per hour going towards the radar site, and this looks like 9 towards the radar site. So do you notice they're both going towards the radar site? You don't have that other spot away. Now, I can't tell if near Seneca, that is actually where you have a flare of red. But either way, you should have red meets green or red meets blue. There's no reds. This, to me, looks like it could be a damaging wind event. Either way, it coincides right where we expected these stronger potential storms to fire up, especially tornadoes. These are EF2 or greater. as we push through the nighttime. Now, bring up the tornado watch. We've got 3 separate watches or 3 different regions, and that encompasses over 9.3 million people. So there's the initial one, I-35 north and south of the Twin Cities down through Iowa. And this stretches all the way out towards eastern Kansas and Topeka and St. Joseph. And then you have the Red River region. So there's a whole lot of action, and we'll get to the southern side of this. It's been fairly impressive. I do want to show you the hours ahead of all of this on our future track. And notice the backside of these, you have some rogue supercells that are forming. And with that, I think that's why our exclusive storm trackers decided to dive to the south. Let's see if we can talk with them. Hey, Corey and Brendan, if you can hear me, this is Steve. It looks like you guys are right on this tornado warning. Can you walk us through what you have seen over the last hour since we've talked?
Hey, Steve. So they recently put out a tornado warning on this storm. We're watching it closely, and it's got some good low-level rotation, but at least at this point, I wouldn't say it's anything tornado imminent.
And Brendan, you brought up a good point, low-level rotation, right? I was talking with Cody before, and you had mentioned this. A lot of these storms have that low-level helicity, but they don't have that mid-level or anything to attach it. Is that kind of what you're seeing out of this cell again?
I mean, it definitely is the most intriguing looking storm I've seen all day, to say the least. This is closer to any tornado producer that I've seen all day of all the storms we've been on. So it looks good. It's just a matter of, will it focus that low level rotation or not? It's very broad, very weak. There's, like I said, there's a lot of low level shear at the base, but just not getting it done right now.
When you're saying, hey, it looks good, and we see outside your windshield, I mean, I just see a mass of gray. I know you can see a little more detail. Rain rates on this thing pushing 7 inches per hour as an estimate. How difficult has it been today when you're just looking at that low-level moisture and just the intensity of the rain attributed with all these storms?
Well, I mean, thankfully, it hasn't been too bad thus far. You know, there has been a more tendency for high precip storms, so it's made it increasingly difficult to see the bases of these storms. But at least for now, you know, we're staying on the dry part of the storm. We're getting out ahead of it and trying to maintain a clear view of it.
Yeah, we'll be watching this. I mean, the overall setup is something that you had talked to and I talked about earlier when we were discussing this, and Cody brought this up. I mean, we're relying all on frontal boundaries. It doesn't seem like the actual storm itself is going to aid in any of these developments just because of the way it's tilted.
Yeah, it really is going to take us to get a storm that's moving more easterly to really do anything, at least in my opinion, with the way the winds are. A big caveat of today's threat is the surface winds across a lot of the open warm sector, which is why we likely, have not seen what could have very well been a tornado outbreak today, is because the surface winds are out of the southwest. They're really not favorable for tornado genesis along this boundary right now.
Yeah, we'll be watching this closely. Not the only spot, though. I mean, you're very familiar with this spot, Red River region. In the panhandle of Texas, they have another threat again tonight, so we're going to dive into that. Brandon, thank you for the update, and we'll continue to talk as these storms evolve.